Hey everyone, Ben from Snowboard Gamer. Welcome to episode 68 of This Week in Board Games. In this weekly show, I share with you all the games we played last week, go over any interesting board game news, and show any new purchases. I also do a spotlight on one game. This week I'm doing a spotlight on the game Space Base. Before I get into that though, I've got a few items of business. First off, it's getting colder here, so I decided I would sport a beanie in this episode. My cousin Amy made this for me. Amy is amazing. She goes by the online handle of Homemaker Hobbies. I'll link them down in the description. She's got a website and a YouTube channel. She's the wife of my cousin Will, who flew out here a few weeks ago, and we spent the weekend together. Thank you, Amy. I love this beanie. I also run monthly giveaways on my YouTube channel of a board game. And this month I'm giving away a copy of Space Base. I just launched that on December 1st. Go check that out if you haven't entered. All you have to do is subscribe and leave a comment. I'll link the video up here to that one. My previous winner in November for a copy of Hive was a guy by the name of Samuel, and he lives in France. He just received his copy and sent me a picture of it. So congrats to Samuel, and good luck to everyone entering this month's giveaway. Let's get right into the spotlight this week, which is for Space Base. This is 2 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, and plays in 30 to 75 minutes. Space Base is an intergalactic race to 40 points. Everyone starts with their own player board and the same 12 cards numbered 1 through 12. On your turn, you roll 2 dice and get resources depending on what you roll. You can then use those resources to purchase 1 card from the cards available in the middle of the table. When you roll the dice, you can either activate the combined dice or each individual die. The 7 through 12 numbers are generally better than the 1 through 6 numbers. For example, if I rolled an 8 with a 5 and a 3, I could activate the 8 for 3 coins or the 3 and the 5 for 1 coin each. Obviously, in this case, I would take the 8 for the 3 coins instead of the 2 coins. Whenever you buy a card with your gold, you go back to 0 regardless of the cost of the card. For example, this card costs 4 and I have 6 gold. I would buy the card for 4 and then go back to 0. The 2 coins are lost. Whenever you buy a card, you replace the current card on your player board with it. You take the old card, flip it around, and slide it underneath your player board, exposing a red section with a reward on it. You now get this reward when other people roll that number on their turn. You can even stack multiple cards for a big payout if your number hits. Or you can choose to spread it out to ensure that you're always getting something. Just like when you roll the dice, when someone else rolls the dice, you can choose for your red rewards either the sum of the dice or each one individually. You don't have to choose the same combination that the player who rolls the dice chooses. Some cards provide gold, some provide victory points. Some cards have charges that let you charge up abilities like being able to +1 or +2 a die roll or get a 2x payout. When you increase your income, instead of going back to 0, you go back to wherever your income is. There are 6 cards from each of the 3 tiers always available for purchase in the middle of the table, with the 3rd tier being the most valuable, but also the most expensive to purchase. In addition, there are 12 rocket ships that are pure victory points available for purchase. Don't purchase them too soon though, because once you buy one of them, they go in that numbered slot on your player board, and you can no longer buy any cards of that number for the rest of the game. As soon as someone hits 40 points or more, you finish the current round, and then the player with the most points wins. This game is ridiculously fun. If you haven't tried Space Base, you definitely should try it. So, whoa, Eric! What's going on?
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I've watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser gates. All these moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain.
Okay. So, have you played Space Base?
I have!
So let's talk Space Base for a few minutes.
Sounds good.
All right, so this game, a lot of people compare it to Machi Koro. How do you think it compares to Machi Koro?
I see the similarities with the dice rolling and getting the cards that allow you to do certain actions. So that's the similarity to it.
Definitely. A lot of the complaints about Machi Koro is that you buy cards and then if your numbers don't get rolled, you're kind of hosed. And I feel like Space Base does a much better job of mitigating the risk of bad dice rolls because you can choose to spread all your cards out. You automatically start with something on your turn every single time. And then, depending on how you buy your cards, you can go all in on 1 or 2 numbers like Machi Koro, and if you hit them, you're going to get a huge payout. Or you can play it safe, you can try and combo all the cards. There's way more combos than Machi Koro, I feel like.
Right, and then, when you can do actions on other people's turns, that also helps a lot too. I guess that they do that in Machikoro as well. In Machikoro, do they do this thing where you can separate the dice numbers, or do you always have to use the sum?
No, that's a good point. Machikoro, you just roll the dice, and whatever is rolled, you either roll 1 dice or 2 dice, and you can choose.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But in this one, I like that aspect of you can either choose the sum or the 2 individual ones, and the lower numbers aren't as good, and the higher numbers are better.
Right, so that changes the probability. And spreads it out more, not evenly. Like you said, you get more on the 6 and less than over here, but it seems that it's more interesting that way.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that whole upgrade. So if I buy this number 1 card and I replace that one, now I get a coin on everyone else's turn on number 1. I love that mechanic. It's so cool. So you don't just upgrade and get a better card. You now get payouts on other people's turns.
Right. And then it changes, like you said, your strategy on which ones you buy. Because I know that you played that one game where I can't remember what number, like 10 or 11, you built this huge stack. Unfortunately, it never hit. But if it had, like you said, you would have cashed in on other people's turns.
So I chose to play a riskier and be more reliant on the dice. But you don't have to play that way. Because there's this card here, the You Win card. And one of my friends actually won with this card. And it's on number 12. And you have to charge it 3, 4, or 5 times depending on the number of players. So rolling a 12 is super unlikely, but he got another card which let him place a charge anywhere and then move a charge from one place to another place. So he was able to fill it up quickly and get to this You Win card. Although everyone else at the table needs to be aware of that. If someone buys this card and the other card that lets you put a charge anywhere, you want to make sure they don't get that card. So I think that adds an element of player interaction in the game, because if you let someone get too many combos together, they're going to be crazy.
So these charge-up cards are definitely unique to this game, right?
They are.
And they take a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah, I want to say the first 2 or 3 games I played, I just ignored them because they were kind of confusing. But then once I learned how to do them, they're actually very powerful. Like this 2x here, you charge it once on your turn when you roll an 8, which is a fairly common number. And then on your turn, on a future turn, you can 2x it. So if you have one of these, I think there's like a 7-point 3rd tier card here. Mm-hmm. That could be 14 points, which is like almost a third of the points you need to win the whole game. So you can really benefit a lot from these charges. So what's your favorite strategy that you've seen so far?
Well, I've only played this game a few times, but so I'm still kind of learning. And that's one thing that I like about this game. It takes a while to really get a strategy down. I think that's a good thing in a game, so that you're not just playing it on that and it becomes it's too simple. It takes a little while to get used to.
Right.
I think the negative to that is that if you have new players that versus people that have played it, the people that have played it more often are definitely going to have an advantage. So playing it with the same group of people or with people that know. But I like to spread it out this more evenly strategy than focusing on one. But that's harder. It's easier said than done because it really depends on what cards come out. Because if you see there's a huge stack of each card, and so it changes every game.
Yeah. And I think there's also a fine line between buying these cards here that give you coins or income and when you start switching to victory points.
Right. Yeah, that's the next thing. That's what I was going to ask you about too. Is so you kind of have to make a decision because when you start doing the victory points, it eliminates your what you get.
Right.
You're still getting what other people get if you have cards for that number, but you've pretty much that's dead now.
Yeah, once you start buying these victory point cards.
But that's really the only way to win.
Right. Well, even these ones too, though, if you buy these two early on, like this one is on a 10, but it gives you 5 victory points. Well, now you're not getting any gold or income on your turn. So if you get like 3 or 4 victory points early on, you're going to slowly get some, but it's only on your turn. But I think one of the most powerful moves in the game is to take one of these here and then push it upside down there. Now you're getting 3 points whenever anyone else rolls a 10. Especially if you can get like the card that lets you charge and then boost. So then you could boost a 9 up to a 10 and then still get your 3 points. I think this is where the game is won, is in the victory points up here.
And I've never tried that before. The other thing is interesting is this income track. So I know that in the beginning, kind of based on other games I've played, it's like, I want my income track to be as high as possible.
Right.
But I actually found that I wasn't spending I was actually had more money than I could use or want to use. So I don't know that strategy is the best. So there's definitely a lot of variety in this game, I think.
To me, there's a ton. I have 5 or 6 plays in now, maybe 7. And I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of this game. Every time I sit down, I really get excited because I'm like, oh, I'm going to get some really cool strategy. And a lot of it's dependent on how the cards come out. Each of these decks, there's a ton of cards here. So the order they come out, how other people buy, what's left for you to buy, infinite possibilities as far as replayability goes. Let's see, any negatives that you can think of?
The only real negative, like I said, is I think the learning curve is kind of steep in the beginning. It's not a complicated game, but I think because of the variety of cards that you can get, it's and understanding exactly what they do. Because in the beginning, you kind of ignore the ones you don't understand.
Yeah, you're like, no, I won't mess with that one.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't want to pick that one. But I think as you get to know the cards better, then it becomes... So I guess that's kind of a negative, but in a way it's a positive as well, because then that means you're going to want to play it more and more to get understand the cards.
A lot more depth to the game.
I mean, I hate to compare it to Terraforming Mars, but
oh my gosh, I was seriously thinking that.
It has a similarity to it. I mean, in a way, because of the cards and the combos. Yeah. There's a similarity to Terraforming Mars in that way.
I was thinking of like the what are they? The little green ones.
Exactly, like the microbes.
Yes.
and the pets and those, right?
The first few times I played Terraforming Mars, I was just like, nope, I'm not getting that card. I don't understand it.
Right, exactly. So it kind of is similar in that way to learning it. But
that's hilarious. I was seriously just thinking that.
Yeah. A lot of people say this is a Machikoro killer. Now we're talking about Machikoro with the expansion that everyone, I can't remember the name of it.
The Harbor expansion.
Right. I still like that game. That's kind of a beer and pretzels game to me. You just kind of sit
lighthearted.
down and play it. Yeah, just having fun.
Oh, dang it. Oh, well.
This is a little more thinky. You can't quite be as cavalier about it or whatever you want to say. You have to come up with a better strategy. But I like one of my favorite casino games is Craps. And this scratches that itch in a big way. The rule book has a cool graphic on the odds of all these based on things, and I'm always looking at that and trying my best to buy the cards that fit that odds. But again, if those cards don't come up, then you kind of got to go with the next best thing, or just it's kind of a crapshoot.
Well, thanks for coming on, Eric. This is fun.
It's been great. Thanks.
Let's get into the rest of the games I played this week. I played a lot more than this, but most of them are games I don't own. I've got 7 or 8 that we played. I'm going to start with the one that I actually do own. We kicked the week off going to Gravity, one of our favorite local breweries here in town, and playing Lords of Waterdeep. Lords of Waterdeep is made by the Dungeons & Dragons company, and it's kind of got that theme to it, but it's actually a worker placement game, which means everybody starts with 2 workers in a 4-player game, and you take turns doing actions by putting your workers on the board on different spots. And the different spots give you different colored cubes. You use those cubes to complete quest cards, which give you points. I love this game. This is a great worker placement game. If you haven't played any of those genre of games, this is a great one to start with. It's not too complicated. It's easy to pick up. We have a lot of fun with Lords of Waterdeep. It's for 2 to 5 players, ages 12 and up, and plays in 1 to 2 hours. One of my favorite mechanics about this game is that there are buildings. One of the actions where you can put your meeple is to build a building, and that provides an additional action space. So as the game goes on, you have more and more action spaces. Whoever built the building gets a reward when someone else goes on there, which is also another cool aspect of the game. So definitely check out Lords of Waterdeep. If you're looking to get into that worker placement genre, this is a good starter one. We are playing Lords of Waterdeep at our favorite local brewery, Gravity. It is down to the wire. Eric's in the lead, but we'll see with the end game bonuses what happens.
I get 4 points for piety or warfare, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, so I get 16 more, which gives me 146.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, victory dance. Yes. Nice job, Eric. I've played a lot of worker placement games, and I still really like this one, even though it's more of a beginner worker placement game. Next, I had a work event down at the Board Game Republic, and we played quite a few games of Secret Hitler. This is a game I have not played in a while. It is our #1 game played last year, and we've played a ton of it this year, but we got burned out on it about 3 or 4 months ago and have not played it in a while. This is for 5 to 10 players, ages 13 and up, and plays in 45 minutes. This is by far our favorite social game with secret identities. In Secret Hitler, you have a liberal government in Germany trying to keep things together and prevent the fascists from taking over and installing Hitler as their leader. I'm not gonna say much more about this here. If you wanna hear more about this, go check out the spotlight that I did in episode 48. The next game we played at the Board Game Republic is Bloodborne, the card game. And this is a game that is based off of a video game. The video game came first, then they created a card game about it. It is for 3 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, and plays in 30 to 45 minutes. In Bloodborne, it's semi-cooperative, but there's only one winner at the end of the game. The cooperative aspect is monsters come out, and everyone has different weapons in their hand, and you decide if you're going to play your weapons to attack the monster or not, or you can heal yourself if you're about to die. And then if you help kill the monster, you get certain rewards. So it's semi-cooperative that way, but it's not really a cooperative game. It's really an individual game where you're trying to get the most points from killing all these monsters. It was a fun game. I probably won't buy it. It wasn't my favorite. But the one thing I did like about it was the aspect of everyone says they're gonna play certain cards. And you can say you're gonna play a card, but you can switch it up, bait and switch on people and play a different card, and that kind of wreaks havoc on the game. So that was kind of a cool aspect of that game. Next, I met one of my subscribers, and we went over to Gravity Brewing Company and met Michael, and he taught us 2 games. The first game he taught us is Survive Escape from Atlantis, which is for 2 to 4 players, ages 8 and up, and plays in 45 to 60 minutes. Everyone starts in the middle on this island, and then you're trying to get all your guys to safety on one of the 4 corners of the boards, and you can board boats, you guys can swim, but there's these monsters, these sea monsters and whales and sharks that come along and can kill your guys. I really enjoyed this game. It was a lot of fun. We are hanging out at Gravity. We met Michael, who's in town on business. He's teaching us Survive. What do you guys think so far?
I like it.
It's fun. Kind of chaotic, but I like it. It's fun.
Yeah. I don't have that many guys left, so 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna go pull this one here. Dude.
Oh no! Whirlpool.
You're dead.
I'm dead.
No. Shark.
And a shark.
Shark.
And you can kill another one of my
Who's winning?
I'm
1,
not
2,
me.
3.
I'm definitely not winning.
I'm gonna move this one and get you right here. Wow, you have a lot of dead people.
I do.
This is an older game that got a reprint from Stronghold Games. I really enjoyed this game. As I mentioned, it was kind of chaotic, but it was just fun. Thanks for teaching me, Michael. The second game that Michael taught us is Monopoly Deal, the card game. This is for 2 to 5 players, ages 8 and up, and plays in 15 minutes.
All right, next up, Monopoly Deal. It's the game that we love as a board game, but down in like 20, 30 minutes as a card game. So it's quick, it's fun, and as you can see, Ben over here has lost everything like multiple times.
Oh yeah, I've got nothing here.
Nothing.
Look, that's Travis's, that's Michael's, and this is mine right here.
Big old nothing.
Zilch. I was terrible at it, but I still enjoyed it. I have a lot of memories of playing Monopoly as a kid. There just weren't very many good games around back then, so I don't gravitate towards playing Monopoly now. There's so many better games to play. This though, as Michael said, it kind of gives you the same feel of the Monopoly game without taking hours. It can play in about 15 minutes. So I would definitely play this again. I enjoyed it even though I sucked at it. If you've ever wondered why my channel is called Snowboard Gamer, it's because I enjoy snowboarding and board gaming, and those two kind of just came together when I was thinking of a name for my channel. The mountains just opened last weekend at Breckenridge, and we went there and did a little bit of board gaming as well as some snowboarding. Check it out. Breckenridge just opened up. They've gotten a ton of snow, so we're heading up for the weekend to do some snowboarding. Time to dust off the snowboards and pull them out of storage in the basement.
They're kind of like a maroon, like magenta color, and they have these little like thigh zippers so that if you get hot, you could just open them and it just like, airs you out.
Nice.
And then I got this jacket, which is just like a little thin white jacket. It has these pockets.
We are in the tunnel right now, underneath the Continental Divide, and we're gonna pop out on the other side, and it's always totally different, kind of crazy. We'll see what we have on the other side. First off, I stumble, which makes me put 1 clank. And now I've got 3 movement, and I've got 4 to spend. So with my 3 movement, I'm gonna go 1, pick this up, which is, an extra movement. 2, 3, I'm gonna move back in here and take a monkey idol. For 4, I'm gonna buy my teleporter here, which is a one-time use, and I'm gonna teleport back into this room and get this guy. Well, we could not stop Travis, but it was super close. It went down to the last turn, and Allison and I died, and Travis was 9 out of 10 damage and didn't die and got out, and it was super close down to the end. Good game, Travis.
Good game, yeah.
Yeah, nice game,
This
Trav.
one's fun.
It sometimes ignites a little bit of rage, right?
Poor Kinsey was 1 movement away from getting above ground, which would have not killed her off completely. And so she lost all of her points. Like, she was just completely dead.
Yep, and then we died literally 1 space away from the exit.
But we got to retain our points. We just didn't get the 20 bonus points.
Yeah. The game you saw in that vlog was Clank. It's for 2 to 4 players ages 12 and up and plays in 30 to 60 minutes. Clank is a deck building game. If you've played Dominion, think of Dominion with a board. Everybody starts with the same 10 cards, and on your turn you play 5 of them. And the cards let you do things like move your guy around the board, so you can go pick up treasure, kill monsters, and then they also have coins on them so you can buy cards. There's some cards out on the table. When you buy a card, it goes in your discard pile, and when your card runs out, you shuffle it back together. So you're slowly building your deck over time by buying better and better cards. And in Clank, you're trying to get down to the depths of the dungeon, get an artifact, and get back out before everyone dies. Clank is a fun one. If you've not played Clank, I highly recommend it. After we got back from the mountains, we went over to Liz and Eric's house and played The Godfather Corleone's Empire again. I mentioned it in last week's video. That was the first time we'd played it. This was my second play. It is for 2 to 5 players ages 14 and up and plays in 60 to 90 minutes. And after my first play, I thought it was a fun game, and I said, you know what, I'll play it again. After my second play, I really like this game. This game was way better for me the second play than the first play. I really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely looking forward to playing this game some more since Eric owns it. This is a fun one where you are controlling a crime family in New York City and trying to control certain areas. It's worker placement as well as area control, but some crazy things happen. You can light a car bomb off, which blows up and kills all the bodies in Chelsea district or over on Long Island, and then the bodies get dumped in the Hudson River. So if you're a fan of The Godfather and you like worker placement, area control games with a little bit of chaos, definitely check out The Godfather. I really enjoy this game. Nothing jumped out at me in the news this week, so let's get right into my new purchases. This purple bag is from the Wizard's Chest, my favorite local game store here in Denver. Let's see what I picked up. I mentioned this a few months ago. Ice Cool 2. I'm excited to give this one a play. Ice Cool 1 is a really fun game. It won the Children's Board Game of the Year last year, and you're flicking penguins through doors at the school. One person is chasing the other one, trying to capture them. It's a dexterity game, which sounds very kiddish, but I've played it with grown adults and had loads of fun. It has that little bit of a pool feel to it where you can flick the penguins, and if you do it just right, you can actually make curve shots and trick shots. This is a fun one, and with Ice Cool 2, you can supposedly combine both of them together into this giant racetrack where everyone races around. That's all I know about it, and it is a standalone game that looks like the first one. I'm just looking at the back here. Oh, it also brings it up to 8 players with Ice Cool 2. So I'll definitely be giving that a shot over the holidays. Should be fun. That's it for this week. Hopefully this gave you guys some ideas of some games you can play with your family and friends. What games are you playing? I'd love to hear in the comments below. Let's get the discussion going there. If you like this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up and sharing it with your friends. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week. Oh, and don't forget to go enter that giveaway. Bye guys.